Snow covered the narrow roads of Willow Creek, a small American town where winter arrived like a quiet guest who never left. On the corner stood an old wooden house, its porch glowing with a single warm yellow light that flickered gently against the cold. That light was the first thing anyone noticed, like a tiny heartbeat fighting a long silence. People passing by often slowed down, feeling as if the porch light was waiting for someone, holding on to a hope that refused to die. And that was the hook of this story, the strange feeling that behind that faint glow lived a loneliness older than the snow itself. Inside that house lived George Hudson, a 78-year-old retired U.S. Army veteran. The town knew him as Old Mr. Hudson, a man who spoke little, walked slowly, and carried memories much heavier than his age. His son Alan lived in New York, buried under deadlines and calls, while his daughter Susan lived in Chicago, too occupied to visit more than once or twice a year. His wife, Margaret, had passed away 7 years earlier, leaving behind an empty rocking chair, a quiet kitchen, and a promise she made on a summer evening. George, keep the porch light on. A home with light is never abandoned. George had kept that promise, turning the light on every single evening. Even though the house felt more like a museum of memories than a home now. One bitterly cold afternoon, when wind pushed against the windows as if trying to enter the house, George heard a soft knock at the door. Startled, he opened it. A young girl 14 at most stood there, her nose red from the cold, a steaming cup of chicken soup trembling in her hands. "Hi, Mr. Hudson," she said shyly. "My mum says we should check on older neighbors in winter, so I brought you soup." Her innocent voice reached somewhere deep inside him, touching a chamber of the heart he thought had locked long ago. "Thank you, dear," he said with a smile he hadn't used in years. "Kids don't knock on old doors anymore." The girl giggled. "Mum said you might not open the door, but you did. That's brave." Her laughter filled the hallway like warm sunlight. Her name was Emily, and that one visit turned into a habit. She came every day, sometimes after school, sometimes in the early evening, always asking if he had taken his medicine, always carrying a drawing, a snack, or a story from school. She helped him clear snow from the walkway, taught him how to use apps on his phone, and listened to his tales from the army and the early days of America. As weeks passed, George began speaking more, smiling more, even laughing at times. One day Emily asked, "Why do you keep the porch light on all night?" George looked out the window and said softly, "My wife said that as long as the light stays on, we're never truly alone." Emily leaned her head slightly and whispered, "Then you're definitely not alone. I'm here." The words were simple but powerful enough to make his eyes sting. Months rolled by, and Emily slowly became the brightest part of George's day. She came running to show him her art projects, shared stories about her best friend's drama, and sometimes sat quietly next to him when he was tired. One day, her school announced an essay competition titled "My Favorite Elder." Emily wrote about Georgia, about his stories, his bravery, his porch light, and how he taught her that even old souls carry young hearts. She won first place. The moment she got her certificate, she rushed straight to George's house. Breathless, she handed him the award and said, "You're my hero, Mr. Hudson." Tears slid down his face, surprising even him. No one had called him a hero in decades. Word spread quickly around Willow Creek. Soon, people started checking on him, bringing food, helping around the house. The lonely veteran slowly became Grandpa Hudson to the whole neighborhood. When Christmas arrived, the town decorated his porch with twinkling lights. Children came to sing carols, neighbors brought pies, and adults helped him clear the snow from his driveway. His once silent home now echoed with laughter, footsteps, and the soft melodies of holiday songs. And then, unexpectedly, his son Alan arrived from New York. When he stepped into the house and saw George surrounded by warmth, by people, by love, he froze. "Dad, I thought you were alone," he whispered, ashamed. George looked around at the kids playing, at Emily sitting on the couch showing him her new sketchbook, and said gently, "Life never leaves anyone alone, son. Sometimes it just takes the right people a little longer to find their way." That night, the porch light glowed stronger than usual. But for the first time, it wasn't a symbol of waiting, longing, or broken promises. It was a beacon of life. George looked at his family, his real one, and his chosen one, and then glanced toward the sky. In a soft voice only he and the stars could hear, he said, "Look, Maggie, the light worked. Love came home, and amid the cold winds of Willow Creek, that porch light kept shining no longer for loneliness, but for the warmth of love rediscovered in the twilight of an old man's life." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.